And we're live. Good evening, Shifties. Welcome back. My name is Tito Amogus. I'm your host. This is Shift the Journey. What is Shift the Journey? Maybe you're watching for the first time. Well, this is just something I like to do. I like to share information with people who are maybe thinking about some type of career change, a career shift, if you will. Whether you're going from one industry to another, one job function to another, or maybe you are in the military and you're looking to get out and wondering, what am I going to do when I get out? Well, I have the honor of being able to interview a different person every week so they can talk about their career journey. And many of them are veterans like me. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force, 20 years and 29 days of my life. And I I worked on missiles, I worked on aircraft, and then I had a really kind of an introductory position into data analysis. And I was like, "Ooh, I really want to do that." And so I made a shift and like moved 2 states away and started my journey. And the biggest journey I think for me was the job search. That was crazy. But enough about me. Our guest this week is Johanan Dixon. He is a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. He's got, you know what? That's all in the description of this call. Let's go ahead and just talk to him, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing
Right.
good. Happy to be
Hey,
here.
all right. Okay, so where are you from originally? I know you just told me, but why don't
Yeah,
you tell
yeah.
everybody
I'm
else?
uh I'm from High Point, North Carolina. Um, I guess at one point it was the furniture capital of the world. So just
Really?
kind of, yep,
Is
yeah.
there is
Everything
it
went to
because
China.
there's were there like a bunch of factories and stuff there?
I don't know. I don't know where it came from, but that was like our thing. We had a big chair in the city that everybody was excited about for some reason. It's just different cities have different things.
Yeah, yeah.
Just random things. But yeah, that's where I'm from originally, and now I'm living up here in Michigan.
So what made you decide that you were going to join the military?
Um, I think I think what I was doing at the time, it was my senior year, and I realized I think I just knew myself too well to know that if I went to college, I wasn't gonna go to school for something like I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And a recruiter I hate recruiters. I don't know how you feel about recruiters. I hate them, but they pull some stuff out of their butts
Yeah,
consistently. And
yeah,
one of them just hit me on the right day and said something about me. Like I was an athlete, I was a soccer player, and he was like, "You look like you could run," and that was it. And I went and showed him that I could run, and then I was like, you know what, I can get free college this way. Maybe I'll have an idea of what I want to do when I get out. And um, yeah, just joined and I loved it.
yeah. How long did you
Yeah,
serve?
I did 5 years.
5 years.
Normal is 4. I mean, you know
Mhm.
that, but I was an Arabic linguist, so it's like
Really?
8. Yeah, yeah.
So
So
did
they did. Go ahead.
so did you go to school at DLI in
Mhm.
Northern California?
Yeah, in
Okay.
Monterey.
Yeah.
Had no idea how nice, how privileged I was to be in that part of the country. I mean, it's probably some of the prettiest parts of the country in the world, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's where they sent me.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's nuts. No, I knew quite a few people who went to that Defense Language Institute, right?
Okay.
And the reason why is because like when I joined the Air Force, my career field, unbeknownst to me, had been shut down for like 3 years while they moved BRAC shut down the base where the school was, and then they were trying to figure out where to put it, and then like 3 years later they opened it up, in California.
Mm.
And what happened was they weren't getting enough recruits to go into the career field. So people who were washing out of DLI and like pararescue, combat control, we had people coming from all sides. They're washing out and they're coming into our career field. So yeah,
So it's just a bunch of flunkies.
well, I mean, my old roommate was in DLI for Farsi, and
Okay.
he didn't pass the last test after it was like 50
DLPT. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
54 weeks or something of Farsi, and then all of a sudden he went into work on missiles. That was crazy. That was nuts.
This is
So,
such a waste of money too. Sometimes they
oh,
don't let you
really?
retest. I'm like, dude, some people are just nervous. Let them retake the test.
Wow. How
You
long
spend
was
over a
your
year.
how long was your school there?
Uh, I used to know the weeks, like 18 months, I think.
Oh man, that's a long time. And then is that why you did 5 years? Because they needed
Yeah.
to extend. Okay. And then
Yeah,
where
they
did you
tack on an extra year.
then where did you get stationed?
I do want to say a recruiter, Matt Mara, if you're listening, he promised me a $7,000 bonus, and that disappeared after I signed my paperwork to be released.
Oh, that's brutal.
A bit. I think he reallocated for another person. Sorry, I wanted to. I've
Yeah.
been holding that in.
It's like I've been holding this in for years.
Seven
So,
grand, yeah.
oh
Right.
my gosh. Where did you get stationed after that?
Um, so I went to an Air Force base in Goodfellow and or San Angelo, Goodfellow Air Force
Yeah.
Base, and did like radio, RF theory training, and then
Yeah.
went to Fort Gordon. So I was stationed
Oh,
on an Army. I was never on a Marine Corps base, and
that's crazy.
yeah, and it was there's an NSA base there, and then there's a bunch of them, but I got stationed where the military works alongside the NSA to
Yeah.
get rid of
Fort
bad
Gordon
people.
is by Augusta, Georgia, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard all
Yeah.
kinds of things about that place. Like, well,
Yeah.
the area in general. I was stationed in Georgia for 10 and a half years, but I was in Warner Robins.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know where it is.
Okay.
It's like 100 miles south of Atlanta.
Okay.
And so
Is it worth
15 miles
visiting?
south of Macon. Huh?
Is it worth visiting?
Uh Man, I
Uh,
don't know. I mean, for me, it is because my oldest daughter lives there. But other
okay.
than that, man, I spent 10 and a half years there. Oh man. Hey, and to any of my listeners who happen to be people who I met when I was in Warner Robins, yeah, I'm not sorry. No, just oh man. So anyway, enough about me. So wow, so you got a taste of the army post and the Air Force base. And tell
Yep.
me what is your take on that whole thing? Because people go, oh man, the army post is like the worst, or the Marines is the worst, and like Navy is like
Yeah.
okay or whatever, and then the Air Force is it's the best or whatever. What's your take on that?
Um, I, so I'm glad I joined the Marine Corps. We always joked about like should have joined the Air Force because you get better amenities. What's the term? I think Marines have Stockholm syndrome. I think it might be the best way to put it.
Oh
like
yeah, that's a good
like
one.
like everybody loves it, but you can't really have nobody can name a reason why. We're all just happy because it sucks together. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And like you almost have a sense of pride with not having what the other branches have,
Okay.
and just dealing with less. So you get this weird camaraderie of just it's like an island of misfit toys. Like I'm sure the other branches are like that too, but the Marine Corps is just we're just a little different.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
So, did you get to travel at all when you were in the Marines?
Um, so I was in intelligence, and satellites are so good now. I mean, we can do most of our work
Oh yeah.
stateside. But I did score well enough when I was at Monterey to go. They do an immersion program. It's typically a month where you can go to a different country and study your language.
Mhm.
They sent me to Morocco. I think we did 2.5 weeks because there was some uprising going on or something. But
Okay.
I went over there. It's funny. I don't know if you know anything about Morocco. They don't speak Arabic. It's like
It's
French and
French.
Spanish
Yeah.
mixed. Yeah. And so it was, I mean, it was beautiful. It was gorgeous, but I didn't learn
Yeah.
any Arabic there. I just
That's
learned a little bit of whatever mix that they have over there.
that's actually kind of funny. That really
Yeah.
is. Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, it
So
was fun. So I had a buddy. He was a gunny, E7 in the Marine Corps, and he
mhm.
went over to the Navy. And a lot of the other branches have chances to travel to cool places. Like he's about to be stationed in Germany. Heard people
Mhm.
Guam, all these kind of things. And then,
Yeah.
did you deploy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I
Deployed
never,
to
I
the
never got
same
a chance to do
place
that.
5 times. Yeah.
Like the exact same place.
Oh, yeah, the exact same place 5
Okay.
times. Yeah.
What was it like your last time being there? Was it just like good to be back, or was it like this place again?
My last time being there, I was there when I got orders to move to, Keesler, so,
Okay,
PCS orders, and I was, like, ecstatic because, yeah, I worked on an airplane, and we were gone all the time. There were only I don't know, I can't remember what it was, 16 or 17 of this one aircraft in the Air Force, and so, um, it's a surveillance platform. It's no longer in existence. They flew the last sortie, like, I don't remember when it was, maybe it was 2 years ago,
okay,
but, it's a command and control type thing with a huge crew on it, and anyway, we were wanted everywhere, and so I was gone all the time. And so, like, I do, like, 1 month TDY to Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base is up there, and then go home for, like, 3 weeks, and then, like, go somewhere else, and then go home for a month, and then go get deployed again, and then be home for, like, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, then go get deployed again. And so that
yeah.
was tough. That
And
was
you had a
really tough.
family, right? Like you were
Yeah.
married.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got
So
I got married in Monterey, and yeah, it's weird. We had our kid, our first kid in Georgia, and it's weird trying to navigate because the needs of the Marine Corps don't change, but
right.
all of a sudden now you got the most important thing in your life that you have to go leave, or you have to. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yep. It definitely was a challenge. That was probably one of the tougher things, and one of the reasons why I wanted to change the duty station, to come here to Keesler is a training base, 81st Training Wing, and the job that I applied for, it didn't specifically say that it was a non-deployable, but it was a data analyst job.
Okay.
And while I was here, I think I went TDY once a year or maybe a week, and that was great. And at the end, I got all these emails saying, "Oh, you need to take these computer-based trainings so you can be prepared to deploy." And I'm like, when is my deployment window?" And they told me, and I was like, "Okay, I'm retiring before then." And they're like, "Oh," and then they stopped sending
Stuff.
the emails.
I
Yeah.
thought I figured for sure they'd still make you take them because I've done some. I remember having to do annual training before I got out, like 3 months before I got out. It's like this
Yeah.
is so dumb.
Yeah. No,
I have to
yeah,
do it.
I didn't wanna, yeah, no, I made sure that, all that stuff was, they knew that I was retiring, because then
Yeah,
I was gonna have to start doing all the retirement stuff, pre-retirement, paperwork and classes and appointments and all that stuff. And I'm like, I can't be doing this like pre-deployment stuff at the same
yeah,
time I'm doing this like pre-retirement stuff. This is stupid, right? And so I think when
yeah.
my boss had a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, that's dumb. Don't do it." He came up to me and he's like, "Hey, don't do that stuff anymore." I'm like, "Okay."
Thank God.
So,
Yeah.
5 years you were in, and then,
Mhm.
did you think about, like, re-enlisting, or were you like, "I'm done. I'm
Ye-
out of here."
I had a weird. I was humbly. The Marine Corps fit me really well. I
Mhm,
meritoriously promoted almost every rank.
mm,
Like it's just I grew up with a dad that you just kind of you don't really ask questions, you just do, and it
mm,
fit really well with that. Um, but I think there was something. So I'll answer your question, but I think there was something missing for me with the idea of greatness. that
Mhm.
I tied with the Marine Corps in like excellence, and um, I held myself to a very high standard throughout that. And then when I started to see that that wasn't ubiquitous everywhere, like some people, I don't know, gave that up at some point in their career,
Mm.
it really bothered me, and I was vocal about it, and I was hard on my peers. And I had a master sergeant pull me aside, and he was like, "Hey, I agree with you, but this is the trajectory that the Marine Corps is going, um,
Mm.
and I think you're gonna end up hating the Marine Corps." It was a pretty serious conversation. He's like, "I think you
Yeah.
will become jaded and actually end up hating it if you don't." So he's like, "I would love to see you stay, but you're gonna have to." I don't know if in the Air Force they had it. They would just say, "Shut up and color," like kind of stop using so much of your brain.
Yeah.
Um, that was kind of the crossroads for me, and I was like, okay. We had my first kid, and I was like, okay, I'll get out, and I was gonna go pursue MMA anyways. Like I wanted to do that, and that was hard in the military. So it just, I don't know, I don't know. I probably could have gone either way, and I would have really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's just how people talk about missing the people, but not the craziness, or like missing the clowns, but not the circus. Um, I miss
Yes.
I
Yeah.
miss the guys a lot,
Yes. Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
miss
that's one
just
thing.
showing up with them.
Yeah, that's one thing that, I think all veterans talk about, like, when they go, "Okay, yeah, what do I miss about the military? Do I miss not being able to walk with my hands in my pockets?" Do I miss, like,
Not being able to
yeah,
whistle or something.
yeah, I can grow facial hair and all that stuff, whatever the case may be. People grow their hair long. I don't have any hair to grow long except on my face, so whatever. But the thing that people always talk about is the missing the camaraderie, because like you're going through something that other people are going through at the same time. You went through something that everybody that you work with has experienced, and you just, I don't know where else you can get that unless you like play a sport for your entire life, like
Yeah,
some of these people who eventually they become pros and they're like, "Oh, I've been playing this game since I was 5 years old." And it's like, I mean, yeah, but it's, yeah, I don't know. I can't speak from that side. Obviously, I'm not an athlete, so, but when it comes to like that camaraderie, the military camaraderie, it's tough to, that all of a sudden that's not there anymore.
yeah, and I don't know if there's like a reflective or advice giving portion of this, or if it's just kind of ad hoc as we go. But um, do you have people that listen that are still in, like that are kind of
Yeah.
okay? Yeah. Um, it kind of reminds me of parenting and being a dad. You can probably appreciate this. Your kids grow up too fast, and then all of a sudden, your oldest is not a baby, not even a kid. They're grown. I've got almost a 5 year old, so I'm a little behind you, but it happens fast, and then you just have to remind yourself to kind of smell the roses as it's happening.
Yeah.
And I remember every single person wanted to get out so bad. Like they're done, just mentally checked out. They don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with it. They think it's
Mhm.
going to be amazing. Um, if you can, and I don't know because I couldn't, like before kids, you can't understand like how special, how much you can love until you have kids. But if you can smell the roses and just take it all in, because I mean, once you're done,
Yeah.
unless you go back in and then actually make it a point to stay in touch with those guys. Like,
Yeah.
because you lose a lot of those relationships because they're busy and you're busy, and then all of a sudden you
Yep.
get. I hadn't talked to a master sergeant. I got out in 2020, and I just called him the other day. He's like, "What the hell? What's going on, man?" And I can't. It had been 4 years since we talked, and
Wow.
you pick back up where you left off, but it's the ones that you stay in touch with. Like you don't come out and make those same types of relationships in the civilian world. Like they're very
No.
rare.
Yeah. Nope, that's true. That definitely. I mean, especially if you're, so like I was in the Air Force for 20 years and then I started, an entry level job, and all my peers are half my age, right? And so it's like we don't have anything in common. And then,
Yeah.
I moved to Nashville. I started my career in Nashville, and that was, it was different because there was hardly anybody there who even knew anybody who was in the military. There was one girl who was like, "Oh yeah, my brother's in the Air Force." I was like, "Oh, nice." But most of them were like, "Oh yeah, I think my uncle was in the army or something. Weren't you in the army?" I'm like, "No, I was not in the army." And they're like, "Oh, it's all the same." It is not all the same. So it's that kind of sentiment, and like people, or
Yeah.
like a couple of the guys who were there had been there for a while. One of them was like, "Oh yeah, I was in the Navy. I got out in 1981," and I'm like, "Bro, I was in first grade when he got out." Dating myself here, right? He got out of the Navy when I was going into first grade. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And another
Yeah.
guy was like, "Oh yeah, I've been in." He was like a reservist, I think, or the guard, and the dude had
Okay.
been in, like, had not ever been active duty, um, like full-time active duty. Obviously, they get activated or whatever, but had not ever been like full-time active duty, and he'd been in for like 50 years. I don't know. It was like 30 years, something crazy. Like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that." I said, "Man, when I was like 364 days out from 20 years, that's when I went online and I hit the button to retire." They're like, "Once you hit that button, you can't go back." I'm like, "Exactly." So, but
Full
yeah, it
speed
was
ahead.
exactly. So it was like it was really hard from that standpoint. I had to learn how to become a civilian.
Yeah.
So you just said something though, that you got out in 2020 when the
Mhm.
world was upside down.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts of, like, what kind of career were you pursuing, like, full on?
Um, so I got out and moved to Michigan in January of 2020, and uh, it was it was probably one of the hardest parts of my life. Uh, Second, probably. And yeah, I remember my dumb ass woke up first day I got up there. I woke up at 4 a.m. and worked out, and then I was like, "Holy shit! I don't have anything else to do. It's 5 a.m. and I don't have anything else to do for the rest of the day."
Yeah.
And that was hard.
Mm, yeah.
Um, that was real hard. So yeah, and so I got out to pursue fighting, like MMA full time. I was gonna full
Hmm.
send it. I was pretty good at it, and so I was training and doing that. And my wife at the time was gonna go be a state trooper, so I was staying at home with our 1-year-old at the time, Mr. Mom, stay at home dad. She was gone for 6 months. Basically, came home on like a day and a half on the weekends,
Oh,
and I couldn't go anywhere. COVID, so we were just living in a trailer.
oh
Like I
man.
was just looking at him. He was looking at me. He's like, "You gonna keep me alive?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so. I'm trying."
Oh
Like,
man.
it was really a drastic change of pace in my life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So got a job, like found a little job. I think it paid like 10, $15 an hour or something, just to learn how to weld, like work
Yeah.
under somebody, do something. And
Hmm.
then yeah, took a couple fights, ended up doing well with those, but um amateur fighting doesn't pay anything. So I ended
Right.
up meeting somebody at the gym. I got me my first job in sales, and I'm not a sales person. I just like people.
Hmm.
I like talking to people, and he said that that would translate well, and kind of what started, I guess, what I'll call a career. I think I'm just kind of going through it and figuring out how to learn how to do things. But yeah, that was kind of my transition into the working world from the military.
Yeah. Were
Yeah,
you were you able to go back to school? Did you use your um post nine
yeah.
eleven GI Bill?
I used so I got my associate's degree with the language school. So I'll take that pen out of the camera. Um, and so I got my associate's degree, signed up for school at Michigan State University, and started
Hmm.
going. And it was free. I got my first check, the first bill though, where it said I think it was like 26 grand or something stupid like
Oh,
that. It was, and even though I didn't have to pay it, I was like, what I just went through was not worth $26,000.
oh man.
And I was going for construction management. And I remember just being like, I don't really want to do construction management. I don't think I'm learning anything. I think I'm literally just doing this for a piece of paper that I feel like I'm supposed to get.
Yeah.
Um, and then when COVID happened, I went from a 4.0 student to like a 2.8 or 3. I'm not
Mm.
an online learner. I
Yeah.
don't do well with that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to at least pause this because I don't want to have bad grades. I certainly don't want to have to pay for class because if a GI Bill, if you get below a certain grade, you have to pay for the class.
Right.
Yeah. So I paused that and then just started working and uh, figured out that there's more than one way to provide for your family.
Yeah. So what was this? What industry was your first job in?
It was a local managed service provider, so like IT
Mhm.
managed services.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had
So
no idea what I was doing.
yeah, I was about to ask,
Yeah.
what was the learning curve like on that when you don't really know or like understand what the service lines are about?
Mm. So I realized in sales pretty quickly that um, the quickest way to work with somebody is to establish a real relationship. So I started to learn the talking points, but at that point, I think even in 2021 or 2020, AI and all these automated like robocalls and everything, people were already
Mhm.
flooded with value props and buzzwords and technical
Right.
things, and it's just not my style. Like I didn't watch Wolf of Wall Street and decided that that's what I wanted to do. Like
Yeah.
I really like people, and so
Mhm.
that's what I leaned into was just finding people that were willing to talk. And in the Midwest, they're a little bit slower. It's kind of like the South. Uh,
Mhm.
I hate selling in the Northeast. They're too quick and they're too mean. I don't. I can't. It's, they're just like, what do you want? So that's kind of how I figured out how to start having success was just figured out what people were interested in, what people are passionate about, finding common
Mhm.
ground.
Yeah.
Veterans, I figured out a lot of veterans are in business, and
Yeah.
we could just have a conversation, whether there's business to be had or not. I mean, it's like a breath of fresh air when you could talk
Yeah.
to a vet.
Yeah. Yep. So how long did you work there?
I did, I think it was like 6 months, and then I got a job offer from a company called Halcyon, and
Mhm.
took it to the guy I was working for. I was working like part time at the time, and
Yeah.
I took it to him and I said, "Hey, this is what they're offering me. These are the benefits. This is the salary. What I was like, what do you think I should do?" And he was like, "I can't match that. I probably can't match that for another 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, as your friend, I would take it." And so that was my first. I went from local MSP to fully online. They send you a computer,
Yeah.
venture capital backed organization with the
Yeah.
swag and everything. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was just completely overwhelmed. I was like,
Yeah.
this is wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Wow.
liked it. I liked it a lot. I know how to. I learned some soft skills from my pops that I thought he was just full of crap, like with just hard work, integrity, like
Mhm.
things that they kind of beat home with you that you
Yeah.
don't really think is going to translate, but ultimately that's all that really matters.
Hmm.
So
So
that's what it allowed me to do well with that next company.
yeah. So how long did you work
Yeah.
there?
I did 18 months, and then they
Mhm.
had a very large layoff, a very, very large
Oh
layoff.
yeah.
And yeah, so went from there to another local company, and I knew somebody from early on when I got up to Michigan at the MMA
Mhm.
gym, and he had a business in revenue operations, and it was a little bit
Okay.
different, kind of change of pace, not cybersecurity, not tech the
Yeah.
same way, but it still had like the tech infrastructure behind pipeline generation, sales. It
Mhm.
allowed for me to kind of I've just been learning on like OJT on the job training this whole time. So I learned kind of a different part of sales that I hadn't picked up before. I had learned the people skills, but I didn't really understand the mechanics behind it. And
Yeah.
so got to learn a lot there, got to see what a small business looked like as it was being built, like
Oh,
looking
nice.
for funding, looking how to build a SaaS. It was a cool opportunity. It just didn't end up working out with I think there was some behind the scenes issues and yeah, and then I ended up that was you had talked about kind of job search.
Yeah.
That was probably the most tumultuous time for me was now I in that time I'd gone through a divorce and now I had child support payments
Yeah.
and I had, living on my own, living up here, family's not here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shoot, like I have to find something. And we've talked about this. Like companies say they want to work with veterans. Um,
Right.
there's a limit to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not as much of a uh, silver bullet as you would think with
Hmm.
all the skills that you have to bring. So that was a very challenging time because that was the first time I had to look for a job under the bullet a little bit.
Yeah, that brings me back to, I feel like we talk about it every time I have a guest who's a veteran, and it goes back to the TAP class, right? I don't know what you guys called it. It was the same thing.
Yeah, I was in an
Uh,
army base, so it was tough.
yeah, okay, so yeah, TAP, and I actually took it twice because I thought I was getting out in 2014, and then I was like, I'm not ready to get out, so and then got out the next year, and so then I took it again. But one thing that they kept telling us is like, "Oh yeah, these companies they want to hire veterans," and I'm like, they're not going out there going, like trying to pull in anybody or whatever. Because why did I apply for 101 jobs and get 6 interviews and 2 job offers? That was a lot. It didn't feel like they really wanted me,
Yeah,
especially in an area that like the closest military base is, an hour and a half away. And it's you might as well be in a totally different time zone
yeah.
because like the culture is completely different. So it was that was definitely a challenge. But how did you feel like tap did you feel like you got anything out of TAP that really helped you in your, transition?
No, short answer, no. I did get a very templatized resume that I used for a
Yeah.
little bit until I realized it was worthless. Um, I think the biggest thing was the there was a couple officers who were getting out at the same time, and
Mhm.
they knew what they were going to do. And so I didn't get anything out of it for me at the time, but it was a life lesson of you really want to have something set up. You don't want to you don't want to get out and not know and then have to figure it out because
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable. It's
Oh,
really
yeah.
uncomfortable because
Yeah.
there's a lot of changes anyways, and if you have to add in how am I going to provide for myself or my family, um, it's yeah, that's a lot. So I got to see them, and um, they had their LinkedIn's and they had you know job. They had already done their job interviews. They'd already accepted offers and everything, and that's something that I don't regret anything about my journey because I think it's played out exactly how God's intended it to, and I've
Mhm.
learned a heck of a lot. But if you want to save yourself some heartache, start applying before you get out.
Oh,
Start
yeah.
networking.
Oh,
Make
yeah,
a
definitely.
LinkedIn. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the things that I stress when I talk to people who are looking to for any kind of job change or, whether it's military to civilian or, whatever it is like, man, you need to start talking to people. You got to network. Networking is very important. I
yeah,
know so many people who got their jobs, their current jobs or the ones before this, through networking.
yeah,
Um, 2 of the last 3 jobs that I had, got them through
yeah.
networking. So it's that's a very important part. So,
Yeah, I had a veteran that had applied to like 500 jobs, and he was pretty qualified cybersecurity professional. he might have been exaggerating, but it was over 300. I mean, he'd been for
Oh,
months just applying every day, like 50 a day
yeah.
or something, or 20 a day, whatever it is. And I made one introduction to him, and he got a job offer a couple days later, and he hit me back, and he was like, "How did that even happen?" I was like,
Oh
"I don't
man.
know. I just know that knowing people is much stronger than trying to beat the AI algorithm that accepts resumes. Like, because you're just a
Yeah, I don't
number in a
know.
hat
Yeah,
unless you're
it's
way overqualified. You know what I
yeah, I
mean?
mean, definitely recruiters will tell you that like they're reading it, and I forget what it is. It's less than 30 seconds. They're gonna look at your resume, and it's like, if this
If it's
thing is
even a
not,
human, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
I don't
Like
know.
it might
Yeah.
be
Well, I mean,
some top.
nowadays, like you chat GPT anything, right? It's like,
Yeah,
oh man, pretty crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
So, what's your current position now? You're an account executive
yeah.
also. So
Yep.
same
Account
type of
executive
deal, right?
at Axiom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the data
And
space now. So
yeah. So what is that like? Was it any different from like going from different industry to industry? Was there what kind of things did you carry with you, like lessons learned versus some of the things for like the learning curve for getting into the data space?
yeah. Um, so going back to the Marine Corps and the NSA, there's a huge learning via fire hose, and
Yeah.
that's an exceptionally um, important skill to have,
Mhm.
especially if you're in sales and you want to switch industries. Data, there's more acronyms than I know what to do with. Uh,
Yeah.
and everybody's got a position, and like these five do the same thing, but they say different things. And then these two have the same title, but they do different things because they're in different architectural. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And none of them want to talk to you because they're all they care about is X's and O's, and they're weirded out by human interaction. And I love it. I
Why
mean,
are you
there's
talking to
a
me like that?
listen, man. You know who I'm talking about. Like they're not all like that,
Yes.
but man, it's
Yeah. When
so
you
like
say they, you're including me. I know this. It's
I
okay
know.
because I'm
Yeah,
in
but yeah,
data.
but you got a damn podcast, so you're an exception. Oh man. But yeah, big challenge. But I would say that learning via Firehose is important and just lean into it because
Yeah.
I just I made a list the first day. It was a week before I started, and I think I'd got an offer. I made a Google Docs of everything I didn't know, and it was like 5 pages of just stuff
Oh
I had
wow.
no idea about. And then now it's like a third of a page or
Nice.
of stuff that I'm still kind of wanting to know that's on my radar. I mean, there's plenty that I don't know,
Yeah.
um but along the way I think there was a couple. So if anybody wants to get into sales, um it's you have to know your craft, and you have to know the industry you're speaking to, and you have to know the people that you're talking to. But um, there's a guy that I'm being mentored by right now. His name's Pike Reynolds, and I've had a couple people like this over my career. You know what? Find a good mentor wherever you land, whatever job you have. Find somebody that you can trust and that cares about you, that you can go to and just ask stupid questions because that's important. That's really important. And this guy, he just shows me he showed me a different way of doing things, and it fits my personality because I would like my goal is to sell somebody something that I'm representing from a company. And what he showed, but my heart is to help people and to make a difference and to make that impact and connect the two. Some people they just sell and it's just all about money. What he's really showed me is how to do it, how to find out what people actually care about, and how to help improve their lives along the way. So we've had people that we've talked to that we ultimately want to sell to their organization, but if we help them set up a framework to sell this in a certain way, it looks good for their career, and now they
Mhm.
have career development. And this person that I'm working with right now happens to be a veteran, and he's very excited about it because we're on the same page. He wants this to happen now because of his career, and now it's much easier, and it's all dynamic shift. So I think finding a mentor, um, maybe even somebody that just got out a little bit before you,
Mm-hmm.
mentor for a lot of things. If you're a parent, if you're a new parent, find somebody who's been doing it a long time. Find somebody who has 5 kids and doesn't care that their 3-year-old just stuck their hand in a toaster. You know what I mean? Like it's just different. Like you need a reality check of somebody who's been there and done that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I've really leaned on, is just leaning into people and being like, hey, I don't know the answers, and I'm just going to tell you that, and hopefully my humility will come across, and you'd be willing to help me. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to help.
Oh yeah. Man, that's huge. That really is huge. That's I think you know, one of the hardest things, and I find, like, especially for dudes, or like dudes who are in the military, to do, is to ask for help. It's
Yeah,
like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But there's a point where it's like, the you figuring it out is causing it's like costing you more than if
yeah,
you were to just ask the question, hey, or to say, hey, wave a flag, I need some help. So yeah, finding a mentor, that's a good tip. So if you were to oh wait, I'm going to come back to that. I was going to ask you a question, but I'm going to come back to it. So what is something that you are involved in that is, like, unique, that you're passionate about? What It doesn't have to be work, doesn't have to be anything, nothing. um I mean, it could be outside of work.
yeah. MMA,
Yeah. Oh, you're
and
still
yeah.
you're still doing it, huh?
Well, I got divorced recently, and it's expensive, so I
Yeah.
haven't been going recently. But yeah, and it's not because I like fighting. I do love fighting. It is
It's
the
not
mo
because I like fighting. I do like fighting.
I do though. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. I think it's in a weird way, in martial artists will understand this. It's like the most pure version of respect.
Mm,
You allocate a portion of your life training to put on the best performance you can against somebody else who is also training for you. I'm
yeah.
very passionate about that topic.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say, so it's something I'm very passionate about, is jujitsu,
Mm,
because of how much humility it gave me, and
mm.
there's a lot of life lessons in it. Um, the first time I did jujitsu, there was a 130-pound girl that beat my ass for 5 minutes straight. And I was 165 pounds. I thought I was hot stuff. And she just put me in a pretzel. And I was like, whatever that is. But the coach that ended up being a mentor of mine, he thought I wasn't going to come back because I looked so broken. Uh, but I was like, if a girl can do that to me, I need to learn whatever that is. And especially a small person, it was just
Yeah.
incredible. And so yeah, there's always something. There's like a learner's mentality, but it's called in jujitsu, we call it a white belt mentality. And
Mhm.
the best black belts, and I would say this for people in business and then leaders, are people that never stop learning,
Yeah.
and that know they don't know everything. Um, because and it's the best way to live. Like
Yeah.
if you try to convince yourself or anybody else that you know everything, you just look like an asshole, because
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
knows everything.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it taught me a lot of lessons with that, and then it also taught me about restraint, respect. Yeah, yeah. So MMA for sure, and then I have a passion. I've started a small business on the side. I haven't monetized it or anything yet, but it comes from actually me helping that Marine get a job when he couldn't find one,
Yeah.
because it gave me more fulfillment than anything I've done professionally. And I didn't get paid for it. I didn't do
Right.
anything. And we don't even talk that much anymore. We ran into each other, we crossed paths, and I had somebody that I could introduce to him, and now he is successfully progressing out of the military. And I don't know what I want to do with it. I don't know if I want it to be completely altruistic or if I want to support my family off of it one day. But man, that felt good. It
Yeah.
felt damn good,
No.
and I think at the end of the day, you rely on anybody else to help veterans, except veterans. They're going to fall short because they don't know who veterans are.
Oh yeah, definitely. Man, I'm right there with you when it comes to like helping people find a job because I, I said like I've gotten jobs be like through networking, but the most satisfying thing was helping
Mhm.
people find their next employment and then in that whole like in the big picture I knew the people who were hiring and I was like, "Oh, I want to help you out. This person, is top notch and like you
Yeah,
guys should meet." And I've done that and then they're like hired. I was like, "Dude, that's so awesome." Now you guys can, I know both of you guys and now you be friends together, whatever, work friends, whatever. But and now
yeah.
that's the
You're
whole
like a speed
networking
dating
thing.
host.
Yeah, it's the whole thing, man. I love it. I love it. I love helping people because, yeah,
Me too.
I was there where like I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know
Yeah.
how to dress. I didn't know what to expect out of an interview. One of these days, I would really like to connect with the base down here and go talk at TAP and really talk about, hey, this is what it's like in the corporate world for real. So
Yeah.
okay, and the other thing I wanted to ask you, so we talked about like your career journey, which is, really interesting and like super, I think is super helpful for people who are getting out of the military or thinking about getting out of the military, the realities of things, but also things to look forward to. We talked about networking, which we both know is like super duper important. Obviously, we talked about it like 5 times, no less than 5 times in 46 minutes. But what is if there's oh, and then you also brought up finding a mentor. I put that in the chat for it goes to YouTube. It doesn't go to LinkedIn, but if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see it come up.
Okay.
Um, but what is if there is something that you can think of, what is one piece of advice that doesn't have to do with mentoring or networking for somebody who is looking to make that career change, that career shift, whether it's military to civilian or any type of shift? What is some piece of advice that you'd give them?
Do the thing that scares you.
Ooh.
Yeah. Um, with fighting scared me, and it was the most alive I ever felt. Becoming a dad terrified me. It's the best thing I ever did. Um, I feel like fear is, I don't know if you want to call it God. I call it God, but the universe or whatever it is in your world, I think there's a natural resistance that is between the buffer of all the really sweet and meaningful things in life, and I think that that's fear, or just I don't know, doubt. And I'm doing that with myself. I made myself open up an LLC in January
Mhm.
because I was like, it terrifies me to think about starting a business and representing a business on my own.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm
Yep.
going to do it. So I set it up, started getting a website up. Um, so yeah, do the thing that scares you. If don't stay in the military if you're scared of figuring out what your life's going to be like after.
Oh,
Stay in if you believe in it, and if you feel like you're making a difference, then stay in. But if you're scared of getting out, start facing that. And then this is not. I don't know. I don't know if this is. I don't know if anybody needs to hear this, but somebody told me this when I was going through my divorce and the layoff, which happened at the same time, and being up here. Um, there's valleys in life, but don't rush out of the valleys. Like there's low points in your life because the valleys are where all the fruit are, and that's where you grow.
ooh, that's a good one.
Um,
I'm writing that one down.
yeah, I've had to remind myself of that one a bunch, especially when there's dark points, because that's where character building happens. That's where you change as a person. For me, that's where I actually became the man that I believe that my sons deserve. So I would say that.
That was a good one. I
Thanks.
hope my little blurb there in the chat does it justice. But if
Yeah,
not, you guys just need to watch it back over again. So
there you go.
man, it was really good having you on. It was I think it's super I think it's super important for people who are like getting out of the military to understand the realities of civilian life, as well as like the realities of the transition.
Yeah,
A lot of that stuff is scary, but honestly, so much has happened um since, man, it was in 2 weeks it'll be 9 years for me. 9 years that I've been out. Um and so much has happened since then that like I can't even, I think about back then and what I was dreaming about, and my life now, not saying, oh, my house and car, whatever. No, I mean, just like my life and everything that I've been through, everything I've learned and grown through. I never, I never would have guessed that it was going to go in this direction. Never would have guessed that it would have turned out the way it has turned out. It's crazy.
yeah.
9 years ago, I got out of the military, and like a week later, we hopped in the car and we moved to Nashville. 5 years later, we moved right back to Mississippi. Here we are. I guess I missed when, in May when it's, 10 o'clock in the morning and it's like 100 degrees because of the humidity, but whatever, you know.
Yeah, psychopath.
Yeah, no, I didn't. It just, we got family and it's
Yeah,
cheaper to live down here, and it's good fishing here too. So good fishing and
right.
good fresh seafood. But
No kidding.
yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the call. Man, it was
Okay.
awesome to have you on. Don't hang up because I'm gonna talk to you in the studio.
All right,
To
give me
every
one. Can I say one more thing?
Oh yeah. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, if anybody wants to follow me on LinkedIn, Tito, can you link my LinkedIn if they want any help with how to build out something, kind of start networking? Just reach out to me. I'll accept your. Just put like Tito's podcast or something, or shift the journey, and I'll know where you came from.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll put something on the post. But everybody else, I'll see you guys next week. Next week we have Calvin Tang. He's an Alteryx ace, and we're gonna hear about his journey. But until then, have a good one. See y'all.